Quick question. Have you ever noticed how Generation Z can scroll for hours but lose patience in seconds? They grew up with unlimited information, instant messages, and videos that start in less than a second. And psychologically, that changes the brain more than people realize. Generation Z, people born roughly between 1997 and 2012, are the first generation that never experienced a world without the internet. No dial-up sounds, no waiting for information, no getting lost without GPS. Everything has always been immediate.
And when the brain grows up in a world of instant answers, it starts expecting instant results. That's why Gen Z often moves fast. Fast decisions, fast opinions, fast reactions. But here's what most people misunderstand. Speed doesn't mean shallow thinking. Psychologically, Gen Z brains are trained for rapid information filtering. They scan instead of reading. They detect patterns quickly. They decide fast whether something is worth attention. It's not laziness, it's adaptation.
Imagine growing up where thousands of videos compete for your attention every single day. Your brain has to learn one skill above everything else: what matters and what doesn't. But this constant stimulation comes with a cost. For many in Generation Z, silence feels uncomfortable. Waiting feels stressful. Doing nothing feels wrong, because their nervous system is used to constant input. Notifications, messages, videos, updates.
When the stimulation disappears, the brain feels like something is missing. And that's why many Gen Z individuals report higher levels of anxiety than previous generations, not because they are weaker, but because their brains are rarely allowed to fully rest. Another psychological trait of Generation Z is emotional awareness. Compared to older generations, Gen Z talks more openly about mental health, stress, burnout, anxiety, boundaries. Previous generations often hid these struggles. Gen Z names them. And there's a psychological reason for that. They grew up with access to information about emotions, trauma, and mental health at a very young age. They learned the language of psychology early, sometimes before they even fully understood their own feelings. And this created something unique. Generation Z is both more self-aware and more self-critical. They analyze themselves constantly. Why do I feel like this? Is something wrong with me? Am I productive enough? Am I falling behind? Social media intensified this pressure because for the first time in history, young people aren't just comparing themselves to classmates or neighbors. They're comparing themselves to millions of people every day. Careers at 22, perfect bodies at 19, successful businesses at 18. And the brain quietly asks, why not me? But here's the part nobody talks about. Generation Z is also one of the most adaptable generations in history. They learned new platforms in weeks, new technologies in days, new trends overnight. Change doesn't scare them. Standing still does. And psychologically, that might become their greatest strength. Because the future belongs to people who can adjust quickly. And Generation Z has been training for that since childhood. So if you're part of Generation Z, your brain isn't broken. It's just wired for a faster world. And the real challenge isn't slowing down the world. It's learning how to slow down your mind inside it. Because the strongest Gen Z individuals won't be the fastest. They'll be the ones who learn when to disconnect, when to focus, and when to be still. And that is the real psychology of Generation Z.